Hi everyone, welcome. We are going to talk about Photoshop and all the questions that you've got about it. Okay, I've got a big long list here of the questions that I get as Photoshop. I'm a certified Adobe Certified instructor. I'm Adobe Certified expert in Photoshop for a long time. I'm Adobe Certified associate for Photoshop as well. It's bragging over, but anyway, I kind of know what I'm talking about. So we're going to answer all your questions, throw them in the live stream as well. If you've got questions, we're going to talk through what it means, talk about Photoshop. Let's do it. Okay, so my first question here is, I'm a UX designer. Do I need to learn Photoshop? There's a few variants of this. Let's talk about a few different industries. UX, you still do. Like, if you're a UX designer, you're probably using Sketch, XD, or Figma, something like that. Okay, and you probably know if you're already using it, you can do a lot of graphics. Like, it's kind of a good replacement for Illustrator. It does some basic stuff for photos, but not very much. You can crop them and do some basic image adjustments, but no, you need to know Photoshop if you want to be competent UX designer, especially if you're maybe not the UX researcher, but you're really involved in the design side of UX. You totally need it. There's so many things you need masking out and correcting, and you want awesome things that kind of expand out of the box, and it needs to have transparent backgrounds, and yeah, you need to know Photoshop. To go do the essentials course, and that's all you'll need, So that's another one. Video editor is the same kind of question. Do I need Photoshop? Will it help you do your work? Not as much as a UX designer, but there's depends on what your level of video editing is. If you're purely the editor in a big stream of people, then no, you don't need a whole lot of it. It'd be handy, but not as essential as UX. What you would be super essential for would be if you are like me. When I'm doing video, I'm also doing the thumbnails, and I'm also doing the social media behind it. So yes, you need Photoshop. It's just super handy to have. Should every graphic designer know Photoshop? Absolutely. There's UX, probably, mostly. Video, yeah, kind of. Graphic designer, unavoidable. When I say that, there are lots of designers out there who are focusing on branding, but even then, there's so many jobs. I can do that. So we'll talk about that. And put it in as a question, Taylor, and I'll read it through it. So yes, graphic designers need to know it. The other thing is remind them that we've got Photoshop Essentials Advanced. So if you are looking to get into Photoshop, Photoshop Essentials, I've got a course for that. There'll be a link in the description for that. It's 100 videos. It's a really kind of way of getting you from absolute beginning through to kind of a really competent user. If you are an okay user, kind of self-taught, my advice is probably do the essentials. Have a look at the outline for it and go, well, there's heaps of stuff I've missed in there, because it's pretty comprehensive. But if you are feeling pretty confident, you're like, or you've done the essentials course, check out my Photoshop Advanced. That will get you there is nothing else to know about Photoshop. That's what I think. There'll be links to both of those courses in the description. All right, let's do another one. What's the difference between Photoshop and Lightroom? They cross over quite a bit. Where the difference is Photoshop also, where they cross over is photo correction. Okay, so there is, if you're, things like camera raw, if you've ever heard that, okay, they kind of came out of, it's in Photoshop and it's in Lightroom. And it's to do with if you're a photographer and you're dealing with digital negatives, okay, and you are really crafting a photograph, and you're spending a lot of time both with your gear of your camera and fixing the photograph. You can do both of those in Photoshop or Lightroom. The big difference is when you get to kind of scale. If I was a full-time photographer, I would be using Lightroom, because working with loads of files, renaming, there's a lot to do with being a professional photographer. There's lots of kind of things for that, working with a lot of files at once. Photoshop is more of I've got this unique photograph for a design. It can be, full. You can be a full amazing photographer and still use Photoshop, because some of the retouching in there is better in Photoshop. So when we start pushing into manipulating photographs, that's when Photoshop's better. When you are correcting photographs, kind of adjusting exposures and doing slight adjustments, you can kind of remove things and that. Lightroom's good, but Photoshop is that kind of you start getting into that manipulation and morphing and adjusting and masks and layers. Lightroom doesn't want to know it. But if you throw your shots from this afternoon of a wedding and there's 400 of them, Photoshop's going to freak out. You can kind of use bridge and you can do stuff, but that's where they separate. One is manipulation, one is organization. They do have a good bit of overlap then. Already know Illustrator. Do I need to learn Photoshop? Yeah, they're kind of like chalk and cheese. That doesn't sound right. Oil and water? No, they don't. That's not right. Forget I said that. Okay, they are, Illustrator is for doing, like, the way I described, you make stuff in Illustrator from nowhere. It's like, there was nothing, got a blank page. Ooh, I made an icon. I made a logo. I made this illustration. Whereas Photoshop, you bring something that's been captured from a smartphone, from a camera, you know, it's been created and you adapt it. Okay, so you need both of those things. Photoshop can do logo design and illustration work like it does it, but they overlap like Illustrator, sorry, like Lightroom and Photoshop. There's overlap in both of those, but you need both of them, mainly if you're gonna be a graphic designer. Yeah, that's that one. I'm applying for a job that mentions needing Photoshop. Will the Bring Your Laptop courses get me up to speed for the job requirements? Yeah, like the Photoshop Essentials course that I've got, I bet you that'll get you past the people that you're joining at that job. Not that it's the best course in the world, it's more that people that are working hard, they don't get given time. Like, I know when I was a designer, when I was younger, there was never ever, guys, could you stop for a second and just explore Photoshop and the new features for me? Never happened. And that compounds. Like, there's people that have been doing Photoshop for 20 years. How old is it now? It's getting close to that. You know, it's that old. It's more than that old. 25, I think it had 25th birthday last year. It makes it 26. It's old anyway. So they just never get, so they just self-teach, and whatever worked, it doesn't matter if it takes them like, 2 hours to do a job that might take them 2 minutes now. It's easy, it's hard to get that kind of professional development time. So I bet you if you do even just the Essentials course, you will go in there and be able to show everyone what to do. Your design might not be as good, and you might not be as good a photographer, but your technical skills will be great. And then do the advanced, and then just blow them all away. Hey, I've heard that Adobe is removing 3D from Photoshop. Why do we need to do the 3D project still? Okay, so there is an update coming at Adobe Max that they're removing 3D. If you open up Photoshop now and you go into the 3D stuff, they'll say, warning, this is gonna go. They're removing 3D from Photoshop because Adobe have bought a bunch of other 3D products, okay, that I might make courses on soon. I'm gonna get into it and see if I enjoy it and how good it is, but they're pretty amazing 3D products. They're kind of yanking out of Photoshop. Photoshop has done it for a long time, and it's done it okay, but it's not very good. If you've ever tried doing 3D in Photoshop or done my advanced course that has a lot of it in there, poor old machine's like on fire trying to do it. So they're pulling it out of that. And if you're doing it now for the certificate, it's not part of the certificate anymore. You don't have to do the projects in it. There's probably about 5 videos in the course currently that we're going to yank out because it's going away soon. Do them because it's interesting to see, but it's not a requirement for the certificate because it's getting removed. Goodbye 3D in Photoshop. Apart from editing photos, what other cool stuff does Photoshop do? It does, like, its core is editing photographs, but it's really good at web design. Okay, I've got a Photoshop for web design course. Okay, before some of the UX specific web design tools like Figma, Adobe XD, Sketch. Okay, everyone did it in either Illustrator or Photoshop. Or if you were more of a print person, people were designing websites in InDesign. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's just very hard to do tests, change things, build very complex prototypes. So it does web very good. You can do some pretty cool video stuff and have a look. I saw some of John Carney's stuff on the Facebook group. If you haven't seen the Facebook group, check it out. Facebook, it is Bring Your Own Laptop Online. It's a group. Go check that out. And he's doing the course at the moment, and I saw some of the video stuff he did, and it was just like, you forget that Photoshop can do that until you see some of the students doing the course. You're like, man, it does good video. It's not a full-blown video editing software, but you can do some amazing stuff. If you have no interest in getting into being a video editor, because Premiere Pro is big and scary, you should do my course. It's not that bad. But even if you don't want to, you just dabble a little bit. Photoshop does some cool video stuff. So web, video, what else does it do? Mainly, there's probably some other things. Throw them in the comments if you are listening and going, he forgot about that other thing. Because 3D is getting removed. I'm trying to think. That'll do. Why use Photoshop when there are online free alternatives? That's a good question. Like, my opinion is take it with a grain of salt, because I am an Adobe fanboy. Love the stuff. Always used it. It's probably two big reasons. The online stuff is good to a point. It's probably got, like, they're getting really good. The free stuff is getting to, like, I don't know, 70% of what Photoshop can do. And if you only need that 70%, perfect. You're just banging out the odd little thing that's cool. Totally fine. Like, there's a Canva, there's Affinity, there's some other good stuff. It's when you're a professional and you want that extra, you know, 30%. And there's some good stuff in there. Like I want to say the word content aware. And the people that have done my courses are like, oh my God, that stuff is good. And that's just not in those other things. And I just can't live without that stuff anymore because it's so good and easy, but it costs Photoshop. So it's a trade-off. I'm a professional, I'm going to use it. Even if I was an amateur, if I was a student, there's a student license, teacher, I'd have it. The other big reason why Photoshop is quite important is that it's the job requirement. If I've, at a design studio now, I'm not going to get hired for the free tool. That might be it, but if you go check job applications, it's going to be Photoshop. It's just professional, everyone uses it, and it's really good. But yeah, I think that answers the question. What's Dan's favorite thing about Photoshop? Content aware. If you haven't done any Photoshop or a little bit and you're self-taught, go see content aware fill and content aware scale. Just magic. Can't believe how magic that is. Like, I do a lot of like web mockups, okay, so UX design, and there's so many images that you're like, oh, I wish it was just a little bit bigger, a little bit stretchier, or I need some background for text. Just content aware scale, and it just makes more background. You're like, I think back to the days where I spent ages kind of using the healing brush and trying to like blend stuff in. You're like, oh, if you squint your eyes, it looks okay. If I master Photoshop, what sort of creative side hustle could I start? Design is like the best kind of creative side hustle. You can start very small with small clients, okay? But, t-shirt design, what other side hustles could you do with Photoshop? Like, it could be part of other things like photography, okay? That's all. I'm just thinking about what I've done as a side hustle. The cool thing about it though is earning money from Photoshop. Like, you could be a Photoshop retoucher, okay? Go out to something like Fiverr. I'm trying to make it a side hustle instead of a full-time job. Go out to something like Fiverr, hang out your shingle and say, I can retouch stuff. I've done Dan's advanced course and I'm at a good enough level. I can retouch your wedding photos or your corporate events and remove Dave, who's not in the company anymore, and try and remove his hand from around Jeff's shoulder. That fun stuff. Because it's stuff that can be done at home, at night, with kids. Kids have to be doing something else, but you know what I mean? Like, it can fall in with slotted in amongst other work. You could take on the kind of, I don't know, that's a bad idea. I'm mostly self-taught in Photoshop. Can I jump in straight to the advanced course or should I do essentials? My advice, honestly, not trying to get you to do both courses, do essentials. Like, there's some key concepts in there that just don't get mentioned in the advanced, and just skip through stuff. You're like, I already know that. But I honestly feel like there are some courses that you could just jump, like Premiere Pro. If you're a good video editor, jump straight to advanced. If you are self-taught in Photoshop, definitely get into the essentials, because there's really easy stuff, so it's in essentials, but it's just so easy and good that you might miss it. I'd be scared for you. Look through the outline, like the contents, go through and just say, know it, ooh, and just jump through those ones. If you're a subscriber on Bring Your Own Laptop, you're paying a monthly fee, so it doesn't matter how many courses you do. You might jog through the first one and then sit down and really grind in the advanced course. Will Photoshop be around forever? Is it still the industry leader? It is at the moment, yep, and it's kind of a real linchpin for Adobe and lots of things. Like in terms of more traditional print, Illustrator has, say InDesign has no real competitor. Sorry, Quark. Illustrator has a few competitors. Like, you can kind of do stuff in things like Figma and some of the other free ones I'm not sure about. But Photoshop, like I said, there are free ones out, but it's still just the one that everyone will get a job with. That might change. But at the moment, it's not. It is the one to know, and yeah, it's the best one so far. is Photoshop good for making social media content? Super awesome. And if you haven't done much, like look at things like artboards, okay? And you can string stuff together and it can be library items, and it means you can do like so many different social media. You know, you gotta do lots of them. There's like one for this size, all these different aspect ratios, you know, like, oh, it's a story size, and that one's like this 9:16, and this one's a square one, and this one's got to go on TikTok, and all of that sort of stuff. You can have them on one document, lots of artboards. If you haven't seen it, well, I'm doing a course at the moment for Adobe Max that comes out. So depending on when you're watching this, check out Adobe Max. It's an online thing. Look for my name and see if you can find it. And I do a lot of that social media, like how to like make it faster, so you're like not, you know, when you're making a new one or resizing it, it's not a big drama and rebuilding it, new documents. Check that out. What graphic tablets, drawing tablet would you recommend using with Photoshop? That's a bit of a tricky one at the moment. Like up until a year or two ago, I would have said a Wacom tablet, get the Intuos Pro, the medium sized one, it's brilliant. But now iPad Pro. I don't think I would do anything else. And there's a Photoshop for iPad. If you pay for the Photoshop license, you get the Photoshop for iPad version as well. And it's still kind of new and they're trying to build it up, but it's pretty amazing. And like the Wacom tablet is, or any sort of tablet, you're kind of like, it's separate. Like you've got your mouse and you're looking at the screen and it works, but like actually having an iPad Pro in front of you and using the pen on it, something special about it. Yeah, so iPad Pro is super expensive. A Wacom Intuos Pro is like a quarter of the size, still expensive. It's going to be like a couple of $100, but it's not going to be $1,000. So see where your prices lay. It does look cool though when you've got like a Wacom with the little pen on the side of your desk when everyone else is walking around in the office. You're like walking around with that, using it like a mouse. You look like a boss with a Wacom Pro. Should I learn Photoshop for iPad too? That's kind of for me, I don't dig it, but I know lots of people that do. It's not that it's bad or worse. It could be that I'm a caveman and I like my laptop and my mouse and I like a big screen. Should you do it too? If you're doing kind of on the fly social stuff, moving, busy, nobody's busy at the moment, but like, you know, if you're moving around, iPad Pro, so the Photoshop for iPad does everything you need to. It doesn't do everything yet, but it does everything you need to. Like if you want to sit in the garden and work, your laptop melting your legs is no fun. So Photoshop for iPad is great. Yeah, it depends on your work. I could see if I was somebody who is like, when I'm doing graphics, I'm like focused, clear my desk, have my coffee, I'm ready to do it, like, whoo. But if I was a camera person out, and I was also doing this little side hustle, when I'm always out, I'm like, I need to work on my lunch break and think, I'd be doing Photoshop iPad. It'd be perfect for it. It does great stuff, but I am old and cantankerous. I want my laptop. If I learn Photoshop for desktop, is the iPad version the same or is it a lot different? If you learn Photoshop for desktop, you'll have no problem working with Photoshop for iPad. And if you're it's pretty, like Photoshop is quite rich in depth wise, like it's been around forever, so it's got so much in it, which is daunting. Whereas iPad, for Photoshop for iPad, what they've done is they've gone, hey, what are the best 50 features? Let's only have those. So it's so much easier, whereas Photoshop for desktop is going to have like a bazillion features, which can be a little daunting. So you can pick up Photoshop for iPad, have never using Photoshop, and I reckon you could master it in not too much time. Like it's pretty nicely done. Yeah. What's the difference between Photoshop and learning something like Procreate? Procreate it's like a small section of what Photoshop does, and it does it really well, especially like the drawing stuff. Photoshop does amazing drawing stuff as well, but Procreate is made for you to be on an iPad and be drawing and making stuff, and it just doesn't do the photo retouching. Okay, it's more about creation. It's Procreate. Okay, whereas Photoshop can do a lot of what Procreate can, but it's a little bit amongst other things. So I know I could do just as good work in Photoshop, but if you're like picking up these two and you're like, I have to draw something, it's gonna be so much easier in Procreate because it's like it's focused to do that. Whereas Photoshop, it's focused to do everything. So it's a little bit hard to dig in and get it. So it's the jack of all trades. So if you're gonna learn one, learn Photoshop because it does lots of what other things do. But if you want to just be an illustrator, then look at Procreate, or Adobe has an alternative to that. It's called Fresco. Again, it does a lot what Procreate does. Depends if you're, I'm an Adobe fanboy, so I'm going to say, go do Fresco. But Procreate's amazing as well. And I'm not very good with computers. Will I be able to learn Photoshop? Yeah, like, well, the nice thing about the video courses is that if you're not very good with the computer, maybe have your phone, okay, or an iPad next to you. My mum's not very good at computers, and she kind of sets up another, an iPad to watch the video on and works on the computer, not to kind of mix it all up. Can you do it? Of course you can. Anybody can. It's more, I'm not going to say like, oh yeah, it's a breeze. It's not. If you find it hard with computers, the cool thing about, like, say, courses, whether it's mine or somebody else's, just make sure it's like a live course. Okay, a live course is great. I run those as well. But if you find yourself, you know in yourself, like, computers, file save is like, all right, I can do this. Okay, and best to get a video, like a pre-recorded course, like my Photoshop Essentials or anybody else's, because you can pause it. Take your time, check things, rewind it, pause it again, come back to it, and just take your time. And if somebody else takes 2 weeks to do the course and you take 2 years, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, that's my advice. I'm not very creative. Will I still be able to learn Photoshop? Totally. Like, Photoshop is a tool to be learned how to use, and the examples that people do in courses like mine will help you develop some of the language and some of the, like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that goes with that. And if you do a load of courses and then you start doing things like color theory, like nobody, like, people think I'm not creative. Creative is like, is a learned skill. Okay, a lot of people come out creative. Like, I was creative all the time because people told me when I was young I was creative. So I was like, okay, I'm creative. And I have that as a belief. If you aren't creative, you probably have that as a belief, not because it's not in you, it's just not your belief. So you haven't, become creative. But like, I was always creative. My early stuff was terrible. Like, everyone else is terrible, but I didn't know any better. So I just carried on. And that's kind of the frame of mind you need to have if you're like, I'm not creative. It's just like, you haven't tried being creative enough, or you haven't been told you're creative enough. I give you permission to be creative. You can be creative. You're going to be terrible at the beginning. That's it. Like, everyone's terrible at the beginning, but some people start really early. And if you're starting late now, if you're 80 now and you're like, I'm not creative, like, tomorrow I give you permission to being creative. Go off, learn some courses, do some videos, and just make your first thing, then your second thing. I'm creative because I've made probably 10,000 things. Not because I'm amazing, okay? It's because I made 10,000 things prior to this. My next thing's probably going to be pretty good. That's my advice. I totally suck at drawing. Will I still be able to learn Photoshop? Yeah, Photoshop has nothing to do with drawing. I don't do anything. I don't draw first and then put it into Photoshop. Photoshop's more like, hey, I've got this image of a whale and this picture of a city, and I want to put the whale going down the city. So you kind of cut things out. It's more like collage. No drawing required. What is the best way to save an image for print or digital media? So print is always a PDF, okay? Doesn't matter if it comes out of Photoshop. Photoshop and making PDFs was scoffed at for a little while because, like, it's all pixels. Photoshop does some pretty good stuff with vector and text and stuff. So you can make a poster in Photoshop and it will print great. Okay, it's gonna be pretty big, and but the vector will come out as long as it's a PDF. If you're going out to digital now, you've got 3 options. You've got JPEGs, which is the most common. You've got PNGs, which is a JPEG with a bit of transparency, and some of the new stuff is SVG. Photoshop doesn't do a whole lot of SVGs, but yeah, Photoshop and PNGs are great. What's the one Google's doing? WebM? I can't remember it, I should know. What are the best ways to create and save an image for printing at home or sending to a professional printer? PDF. What are your tips for being creative in Photoshop? Good link in here. Ooh! Good tips for being creative in Photoshop. For the podcast with Sarah. There's a podcast where I've done with Sarah. My editor's left me a note. I don't understand what it is. How do you get creative in Photoshop? I find, like, looking for inspiration from things like, probably my best one for Photoshop is Instagram. Instagram's pretty brilliant. Go look at like 10 things, type in photo manipulation or photo montage or Photoshop into, Instagram. And then it kind of knows you're interested in that, and then it'll start feeding you other stuff. And man, this is just brilliant. I end up spending my time like trying to remember what the screenshot keys on my Android phone. I'm like holding down buttons, volume, nope, oh, screenshot. And I email it to myself, and then in a screenshot, and I'm like, screenshot. I don't do much with them, but that's how I gather stuff, because I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. And things like Dribble and Behance are always good. And there's so much at the moment online for like, but use the terms like photo montage, photo montage, photo merge. That's a pretty cool one. And we've got a pretty cool challenge on Bring Your Own Laptop. If you go to bringyourownlaptop.com and you're a subscriber, there's a challenge there, and it's called Photo Merge. And it's available now, you can go do it. Okay, and the challenge is to take 2 animals and combine them into one. It's a classic Photoshop thing, but have a look at, even if you're not going to do it, go check out other people's entries. It's really cool, some of the stuff. I did some stuff for that one as well. I entered under a pseudonym, so you won't find mine, but go check out those ones. You can vote on other ones, but go do that. It's pretty cool. What computer specs would you recommend for Photoshop? Photoshop can run on just about anything now. It used to be a point where you had to like have a special thing, but you need, like, if somebody said to me, okay, I'm giving you Photoshop, and you've got like the cheapest computer you could find that you won't want to throw it out the window, is I'll say, okay, it needs to be an i5, depending on when you're watching this, i5 or i7, depending on what's cheap, okay, and processor or equivalent, 16 gigabytes of RAM, more the better, 32 would be great, 64 is what I got, but 16 gigabytes of RAM, and then you need a video card would be very helpful, so something called VRAM, 1 or 2 gigabytes of that stuff. Go talk to a computer person at a computer shop. Those things are pretty common for buying a computer. And what brand should you buy? Doesn't matter. You know, PC, Mac, those specs will get you pretty far. Even if it's secondhand, that'll get you pretty far. Would you recommend graphics tablets over a mouse? So tablet or mouse? I'm a mouse person. I was a tablet person. I've gone through phases. Like I'm that annoying guy who's like, oh, I can't believe you're using a mouse. Oh, I'm just using my tablet over here. It's so good. And then like a year later, my tablet's not working or it's not with me, and I get used to my mouse. Like I use that little touchpad on my little MacBook Pro so much. I'm doing like really fine retouching, like a little squirrel chipping away at like a T-Rex, my little arms, like trying to do stuff on that. It doesn't matter. It's not better or worse. It's what you get used to. I like a mouse with lots of buttons on it and a big scroll wheel because I do lots of things at once. So if I was a retoucher only, I'd definitely have a tablet, okay? But I'm not. I'm like today I was in Figma XD, Adobe PDF Maker, my emails. I'm just looking down here. I had to get stuff from Premiere Pro. I was in Illustrator. Like, it's just so many things. And so I'm just flying around using a multi-thing mouse. But I've had the little rollerball-y one. I've tried them all. And my advice is they all work. Except for like the touchpad on a PC. They seem to never work. Well, you know that little joystick between the keys on really terrible laptops? That doesn't work. What design technique is easy to produce in Photoshop, but does a lot more complex or really impress people? Yeah, like the thing that impresses people the most in Photoshop is like cleaning up images. Like, hey, retouching skin, removing this person, using content aware, just goes away. Those are the kind of techniques that are really quick, blows people away, and the kind of stuff you can charge for, okay? Because it's not so much your hourly rate, it's like the end product. Like, I can make this amazing. Like, I'll charge more than a lot of people, but take half the time because the work's gonna be great. I can do it quicker. That's the kind of stuff that makes you really good at Photoshop and makes it a good employable skill. Because if you're trying to grind it out like with the healing brush, paint, copy, paste, you're gonna get like, you're gonna be paid minimum wage. You might charge the same, but it's gonna take you so many hours to do it. So those are the real wins, is looking at things like healing brush is, the magic healing brush is good, content aware, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's the real wins there. Hey, if I just learned Photoshop, could I work as a designer, freelance or employed, or without knowing Illustrator or InDesign? No. No, you will need one or the other depending on where you are going to be working, and it would be handy to just know both. because you need to know where you're. There's no point just doing Illustrator because Dan said, and not doing InDesign because I don't need it. If you don't know what it does, like even if you just do a really short course on InDesign, okay, it doesn't have to be my own one. I've got one, InDesign Essentials, InDesign Advanced, same with Illustrator, Essentials and Advanced. Go do anybody's one, even if you don't like get to learn it, just so you know the capabilities, because there's no point like fighting away at InDesign, Illustrator on a document that has 20 pages or 200 pages when InDesign will do it really quickly and it will save you time in the long run. But just Photoshop by itself, there's very few graphic design roles that'll only require that. Photo retouching, yeah, that's a job, but it's not a graphic design role. You need to know Illustrator and just do InDesign as well. But you might find the job you get, you spend all your time in InDesign with a little bit of Photoshop. Or you might get a job using all three. Or you end up working in branding and kind of, that's in that compass of graphic design. So you end up never touching InDesign or Illustrator, or Photoshop, and you end up in Illustrator. But you're not going to know until you get employed. So just do all three. It's not that hard these days to learn them all. I say that, but you need to. What is the difference between Essentials and Advanced course? What advanced features will I learn? So my Essentials one is just the stuff that you will need to, the stuff that will get you to be a really competent person. And Advanced isn't so much like, we're not going to open every setting and go like, oh, this is what this one does. Like, I don't like that sort of instruction. What I like is we've kind of not breezed over it because it's a really big program. We kind of cover everything lightly enough that you can go off and do everything. But then Advanced is like, okay, we've got this tricky situation. What happens in this tricky situation? That's it. There are some more advanced features, but I don't like save the special ones for Advanced. I just it just builds on Essentials. Like it goes, okay, we were doing photo retouching this time. We use some of the really easy tools. What happens when you get that really tricky, blurry one? So there's this other kind of subset of stuff to kind of go through. Yeah. Like I said, you can get pretty far with the Essentials course, and the Advanced course is for the people who have done Essentials, understand Photoshop a bit, and just want that, like, I need that hard, how do I fix this hard stuff? I've heard about artboards. What are they and how, and do you teach them in the course? Yep, artboards is in any of the courses, Essentials and Advanced. Artboards are just pages within Photoshop documents, okay? And they call them artboards instead of pages. Think pages, okay? But you can be any shape. What they're really good for is concept A, concept B. So you've got the same stuff because you're copying off from this document to this document to kind of rearrange them instead of having two separate Photoshop files. That's it. You export two separate Photoshop files. Okay, let's say probably what I use the most these days is all my courses need thumbnails, okay, and social media stuff. So I've got a document, one Photoshop document, one file, and it's got the YouTube thumbnail. It's got what it looks like on Skillshare, on Udemy, on our site, on Vimeo, what it looks like as a tile. And they all share the same graphics. They're just different sizes and slightly different layouts. So all just different artboards. And it's great because you go to the end, you go export all artboards. And it gives me my Photoshop one, my YouTube size one, and my, my Udemy one, and the one for the thumbnail, and all these different sizes. And it's just all in one document. It's just one thing. There are other perks to it as well, but that's the main one. Can we use project work from the course in our portfolios behind social media, or would that be recommended creating something more unique? You should do more unique. If you're going to have it in your portfolio, you're totally allowed to, but just make sure you indicate that this was a project set by, set in this course, okay? And just be very clear how it was created, yeah, even if you're taking stuff from YouTube tutorials, just definitely hey, this is what I did. But make sure that it's balanced with it was taken from this tutorial. Okay, so what you want to do then, because that kind of devalues it a little bit, if I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's great. I want to see how good that tutorial was and how much work they did. I would then go, I want to get this job, or I want to make my portfolio better, and I'll take the exact same concepts, find my own materials, and make it unique. The technique might not be unique. That doesn't matter. You're allowed to take the technique. But in terms of the images used, get your own. It's not that hard. Upsplash is a great place to get, high quality, because that's the hard thing, is finding images to do your work with, right? Go to things like Pixels or Upsplash, okay? You have to credit the photographer, okay, but not the work maybe the manipulation that you did or the work you did. Say like this photograph, this is the photographer, I did the work here. This was my intent. This is what I try to do. And that will come across a lot better in your portfolio, like the things that you are doing. If I get stuck or have a problem while working Photoshop on the Photoshop course, can I get help? Only if you do my one. If you do our ones, yes, we've got like actual TAs on Bring Your Own Laptop that help out and make sure if you get stuck, they review your work. It's all, yeah, it's an amazing service. Yep. So yeah, if you do get stuck, just use the questions and somebody from the team will check out your problem and give you a response. How long are the courses? How long will it take to complete? How much time should I spend practicing and learning? If you're brand new and you're brand new to the industry, it's going to take you a few weeks to do the courses because there's like 100 videos. Like I think the advanced one is 109 at the moment. It's going to go down a tiny bit when the 3D stuff goes out. But yeah, it depends on your timing, right? If you're just doing a couple of hours, if you're doing a couple of hours a night, you're going to be through it in a week or a bit. But if you're doing it full time, you might be through it in a week. But there is just a lot of practice and stuff. So I would say aim for like a month. Okay, if you are like, hey, I'm going to do this once the kids go to bed, or I'm going to do this on the weekends. Okay, it's going to take you a longer time. You'll get a sense for it, but like it's definitely not. I'm going to do it in a couple of evenings. It's a big course. Yeah, that's my answer. How long are the courses? Done that one. I want to create my own t-shirts, merch. Is Photoshop good for this? So that is a really good question. And actually I got a complete video on this, like how I make my t-shirts. I don't make this one. But often I make t-shirts here in the office. I got a heat press and stuff back there, and I've got a vinyl cutter, and it's all very exciting. But check out, go to my YouTube channel, go to the Bring Your Laptop show. I think it's number 4. It's one of them, 5. And it's like how I design t-shirts, and I go through my whole process. But no, Illustrator is probably the one you'll use to design and make a t-shirt. Photoshop you use to mock it up. Say I took a photograph of myself right now, doing cool guy pose. Okay, and I'd take a photograph, I'd stick that in Photoshop with my design from Illustrator and kind of mold it in and make sure the shadows are right in Photoshop, but it'd be designed in Illustrator. That's the file I need to send to the printer as well, you know, if you're using an online printer or your own printer. Not many people have their own printers like I do, but Illustrator will be the file they're looking for. Okay, from Abraham, what specifications to consider while trying to buy a laptop for graphics? I've talked about that one already. Deep Doshi, can you say some sites for good stock music? Yeah, free music, very hard to find. Wistia has a really good place. YouTube Studio, sign up for YouTube Studio, even if you're not going to be a YouTuber. They have some good, commercial use free music, but really you have to end up paying for music. I use Envato Elements a lot. There is, oh man, I'm trying to think. I've got some other ones in my head. Maybe they'll come to me. Envato Elements is all I got. Okay, Anusha Kundu. Ooh. Is there any difference between Photoshop, Mac and Windows? If yes, which is better? Absolutely no difference. Same. Akshat Tiwari. Can you make a game poster or anything in Photoshop? Perfect for things like game posters. Yep, Photoshop would be perfect for it. If you want it to be really just text, you know, very vectory and lineary, then something Illustrator or InDesign would be better for it. But if it's got any sort of like interesting graphics and visuals and morphing and colors and lights and stuff, Photoshop's the one. And I feel like a gaming poster has to have all that stuff. Andrew J, hey Dan, with After Effects renderer, ever not turn my computer into a temporary stove? Nope. Basically, if you're rendering at any video, rendering any sort of video, the software wants to go as fast as the machine will allow it. And that means, and the machine will let it be abused that way until it gets too hot and stops. Yeah, there's no way of fixing that. Like, don't bother with fans. Like I've tried cooling fans. It doesn't work. Like it's how stressed out the machine is, and it's on purpose. Like After Effects wants everything, give it to me. And your machine's like, I'm gonna do everything that you told me to do because I'm a great computer. And the result is heat. And there's no way around it. Like, you can't fan cool it because it's there. If you can fan cool it, it's just gonna go a little bit faster. It doesn't though. So that's just part of life. This thing here is on fire at the moment, like almost too hot to touch. I'm messing around with things. Okay, and Bogtaka. If I take the monthly membership and do all the courses, class project, I can take all the certificates. Of course, yep. Not all certificates available yet, and not all courses will have them, but anything that is essentials and advanced will have certificates. Okay, so Premiere has it for both of them. Photoshop has it for both of them now. Illustrator, InDesign will have it. XD, Figma one that I'm working on now will, like, most of them will have it. Go to bringyourlaptop.com/certificates and see which ones are out now, depending on when you're watching, but yes, there'll be certificates of everything. Amir Shakur, I took Photoshop Essentials and Advanced. What is next step to start part-time work or full-time career change? If you've done that, you are ready to kind of, you got to decide what kind of job you would like. Okay, as a graphic designer, you probably need Illustrator and a little bit of InDesign. If you're going to work as, say, a retoucher, you probably don't need any other skills. You can probably start getting Photoshop retouching work. Okay, like fixing images for photographers, that sort of stuff. You know, Photoshop, if you want to be a UX designer, you need Photoshop in something like Adobe XD or Figma or Sketch. You know, it depends on which angle you want to go. Tanzi, without Fiverr, Upwork, and Freelancer.com, would you please suggest me any other marketplaces for graphic design? So if you're trying to earn money on it, those are the big ones. There's like Creative Market is a good one that you can sell stuff on. I think Envato Elements is another one you can sell your work on. So say you want to be a designer and make money based on royalties of artwork that you make. So you might design, you might be designing a website layout or a poster or business cards or stationery. You can do those and then upload them to these markets, and these markets will sell them on behalf. So like when I get stuff from Envato, say I need like an intro to my video and I don't have time to make it myself, and I see one I like, I download it as part of my subscription, and the person who made it gets a part of that royalties. I don't really know what's involved in terms of how much you can make. I'm sure there's people making lots of money. I'm sure most people aren't making much at all. But that's definitely a thing to do or try. Rich D, can you do a course on Lightroom? I will definitely do a Lightroom Essentials. Yep, that is on the list. Andrew J, anyone here that's taken the UX UI course should also take the HTML course. So both of those will have certificates soon. That is a very good point. Like if you're going to be a UX designer, I talked about other things you might need. Okay, like Photoshop being yes, Illustrator maybe not, InDesign no. But a basic HTML and CSS course. I've got one, okay, it's called Web Design Essentials. Do that. Even if you're not going to become a web designer, it's so much easier doing stuff in any of these UX programs because it's like, it makes sense. Some of these things you're like, I wonder why that works that way. And if you've already know some basic web design, you're like, yeah, that's what it is. Like that's Flexbox or that's an 8-point grid. That's because everything is multiples of 8 in a lot of the frameworks, and there's just lots of things that you're like, And when you're exporting CSS, it just means that when you're handing over to the developer, you're not just like, here's my design work, I hope it's okay. Whereas they can say, oh, blah, 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 and you're like, oh yeah, no, I know, So when it responds to the different breakpoints, you know a bit of the language and you're not, it's just handy to know a bit about it. So that's a really good point. Leon, does the skipping of videos affect your certificate? If you skip them all, yes. It's a human checking it. So they're going to look at it and go, oh, all right, you've skipped heaps of it, because we can tell the time watched. It's within reason. Like if there's just something you're like, actually, I already know that, then skip along, okay? And you don't have to finish 100% to the end, but it's within reason. We can tell. We've got spidey senses to know whether you're just trying to get a certificate or whether you're doing the work. Mainly it comes down to like those projects. Okay, if you've skipped a bit of it and you've got great projects or followed the projects, then there's no problem at all. Leon, we've done that one. Carolina, did you study graphic design at university or not? Because I'm thinking that if I'll finish your course, if I'll be able to get a job or should I go to university? That's a good question. It comes up a lot. There's a podcast on Bring Your Own Laptop at the moment. It's actually getting edited now. So if you're a subscriber to Bring Your Own Laptop, there's one with me and Sarah Parkinson talking about university, whether it's good or not. I went to university, so you got to take it with this is my opinion from somebody who's actually went to university. There's lots of other people with other ones. If you're young, not very confident in the field, can take on the money, the debt involved, I think university is a great place. Mainly because 60% is having fun, meeting people, building out a network, and 20% of it is learning to be a designer, which is both important, but there's a lot of social aspects. I know I would never go back to university now for anything because there's a lot of university parts that I don't need. I need to be quick and efficient, so I'll do online courses. I'll do workshops, go do those, definitely. Check out things like General Assembly. They not operating currently with COVID, or they might be in some places, but there are lots of like workshops and meetups where you can kind of add a bit of liveness to your purely online video course stuff. But if you are changing careers, then I think it's not necessary to have a degree. Absolutely not. That's the big thing is, nope, nobody's ever checked for my degree, not once in my life, even though I worked really hard to get it. Nobody said, oh, welcome to the job, Daniel. Can we just double check the certificate, please? Never. They look at your portfolio and go, he seems to have good enough work. Let's get him in to talk to him. And then they talk to you and they're like, he's not a crazy person. You're hired. So it's never, your portfolio will get you the interview, and then your charisma at the interview will get you the job. You don't need charisma, but it's that okay, they're sharp. They understand what I'm looking for. That will get you the job. Never have I been asked for my certificate, my degree. Cold Zone. Should I learn Blender? Why not? I want to learn Blender. I know a little bit. For me, Blender's good because it's free. It's a 3D software. I'm probably going to... the one I'm most proficient in terms of 3D is Cinema 4D. Not for any reason. Blender's amazing. There's moths in here now. Rats. It's really hot. Got to have the windows open and all the lights are on and it's dark outside. So there's going to be more moths as we go along. Learn Blender. It's great. It's free. It does amazing stuff. I know Cinema 4D mainly because it's tied in with, it's a free plugin to After Effects, and I love it. Still not great, it's still hard to use 3D programs, but Adobe have now bought a bunch of other ones. Substance, Material, and another one. I am so going to go learn those ones because, they were good products beforehand, and Adobe have bought them. They're going to Adobeify them more and more. And they were great programs anyway. So yes, I'm going to go get amongst those. But Blender, yeah, it's great, man. And it's so ubiquitous around the world. It can do lots of things as well. And great online courses for it. All right, Hashit K, what's the time? All right, we're going to go for another 5 minutes. Throw your questions if you got them. Hashit K, are the selection features on iPad the same as making a selection on the desktop version of iPad? Very similar. Yep, they use a lot. They use the same technology. They just kind of cut it back a little bit for iPad. Andrew J, if I complete the UX, UI, and coding programs, do I get a certificate retroactively when they become available? Kind of, yes, because we can check that you've done the certificates and done the courses. You just keep the work. I'll set class projects, keep the class project, okay? You'll have it around on your computer. It'll be in the comments on the Bring Your Laptop side. When the certificate goes live, Premiere Pro, Photoshop Advanced went live tonight. If you've already done the course, go find all those projects that you did. We can already see that you've done watch the videos. Just upload your course projects. There's about 9 of them. 9 of them? Not 13 of them? Something like that. Upload them. If you haven't got those anymore, you're going to have to do them again. Okay, and upload them. If you're just doing those courses now, just keep your projects. If it says class project, save it to a file, don't delete it. And when they go live, you can just go, look, I've done the videos, and upload all the projects, and you can be the first one to get the certificate. Andy Robles, what are ways to deal with artist block? Me, I need to leave, go somewhere else, do something else, go to sleep, go for a run. It's mainly the next day. There's no surefire way that fixes artist block for me is to go do something else. If I've got I have to do this afternoon and I'm struggle through it, it's not working. And then I get to a point I'm I don't have to do anything. The client's maybe not going to be happy, or 9 times out of 10, it's myself. I'm like, I wanted to do that today. Why am I being so hard on myself? Go do something else. Go wash the dishes, finish early, go pick up the kids, go for a run, go do something and go, okay, the thing that you're going to do tomorrow, do that this afternoon. And then come back tomorrow and it's just amazing. Like there's something magical about the brain and sleep and doing something else. You just wake up in the morning like, it's not so hard. Also, I find as well, if that's not like, I find the first thing I do is do it for 20 minutes. And you're like, if you've done it for 5 minutes, you're like, I got writer's block, artist block. Keep doing it for 20 minutes. And if it's still not going after the half an hour or an hour, then you should give up and go to sleep and go do something else. Do it tomorrow. But often I find it's just that. You got to push through that first bit. You're like, this is awkward. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm screenshotting. I've got things. I'm looking at other people's work. I'm lost in freaking Reddit. You know, like you just need to get down and do it. And then eventually kind of like, find a little bit and it gets going. Like I found that today for myself. Like I'm making a course at the moment. It's called Figma, Figma Essentials. And just like, it was so hard for the first hour. I was like, I'll go get another coffee, come back. And then I got to a point where I started coming and I found flow and I was like, this is flow. And I was doing it. I'm like, I need to go to the toilet, but I don't want to stop my flow. Different flow. I just want to keep working. I'm sitting here squirming, still working. And eventually I went to the toilet and I come back and I still had my design flow. Sometimes it just takes a while to push through. Anyway, we got a bit too much deep in there. All right, well, one more minute, got one more question. Okay. I'm trying to pick a good one. All right, this is an easy one. You too, for the last bit. I really like your laptop cover. So it's cute. It's cool name. This is from a site called Society 6. So artists, I can't remember the artist's name, they submit their work. There's something you could do if you're an artist or a designer. Submit your work to there, and I buy it from Society 6, and the artist gets a commission. And I change this every year it's my like New Year's resolution. I'm like, great, order another one, pull that other one off, put a new one on. It's kind of like freshens me up for the year. Can you recommend a course for modern web designs like glass morphism or neuromorphism, please? There is a course. There's no course out there like the Figma one that I'm making now. We do neuromorphism. If you've never heard of it, Google them, glass morphism, neuromorphism. It's like some UX design stuff, and like you can do it in Photoshop, or I'm doing it in Figma. So if you do my Figma course, we don't do huge amounts of it. We don't go right into it. I'll just show you how to make it. That's probably less of a course and more of our YouTube tutorials to find those specific effects. You gotta be really careful though. Those things are beautiful, but it depends what they're going for. Like accessibility is ringing in my ears when I'm seeing like neuromorphism. It's great, it looks beautiful, but I can see the visually impaired having big problems with it. I can see Google not liking it because of the contrast. Like you can just be careful when you are looking at some of those styles for anything, okay? Especially if it's going on the web or through an app, okay? If you design them, like Google has ways of knowing that your website looks terrible on a browser, so it won't display through, results. It's like it's a bit of a kiss of death sometimes. So just be careful. It can look pretty, but if the contrast isn't enough, the words aren't big enough, all those sorts of accessibility things, go to a basic accessibility, like what is accessibility, and just to make sure that you're not kind of sending your website out or your app out there with, it's not going to do well. It might do, like I'm not the master of that, but I just know that I've worked in that kind of SEO field a bit, and it could be bad. All right, Henry Cadmus is a big underline. Fit this in, Dan. Okay, does your class entitle us to Adobe student discounts? It does not. So class discounts, you have to be, if you want to get like the Adobe student version, you have to be a full-time student and you have to prove it. The best way is like the way that they normally ask for is a student ID card. You scan it and send it off and it needs to match you. Okay, I'm sure there's probably more to it now, who knows? This is the last time I checked it, but no. My courses are not long enough, not full-time, and not by a university. So you're a teacher, if you're a student full-time, you can't be a part-time teacher, you can be a full-time teacher, you can get the student discount, and it's really good. That is going to be it, everyone. Thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate your time and your Photoshopness. Now, ask questions in the comments below as well. Even though the video is ending now, I'm going to come back to this video and just check, throw your questions in, I will answer them, and I appreciate your time. If you want to join me on a course, go to bringyourownlaptop.com and check out my Photoshop Essentials and Advanced course. And the Photoshop Essentials and Advanced certificate is live right now. Come join me. All right, bye everyone. Finish, end broadcast.